Thank you for turning to page 121.
Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to talk about Marc Miller's Traveler. This is the late 90s edition that came out after the death of Traveler the New Era and unfortunately the departure of Game Designers Workshop. We got Marc Miller's Traveler, an officially licensed Traveler game. Started in about 96, went to about 98. Yeah, Marc Miller's Traveler. Well, I'm going to try to find as much positive to say about it as I can. As you may have guessed already, not my favorite of the Traveler games. I'm going to go into a little bit as to why I like it, what I like about it, and what about it that I felt left us really starving as Traveler fans in the mid to late 90s after the death of GDW. So I'm going to go over, just take a look at a few of the books, and we're going to discuss a little bit of the history of this and one of my most unfortunate games of Traveler that I ever played. Okay, Marc Miller's Traveler. Well, this was an interesting change of pace for Traveler. I'm going to try to keep this as positive as I can, and some of you are probably wondering why I'm struggling with this. Well, I'll go on to explain. Traveler had just come out of the Rebellion in the late 80s to early 90s, and then we had Traveler the New Era, which saw, of course, the fall of the Imperium. We're in the year 1201, and we're adventuring in the Vampire Highway as part of the RCES, the Regency Coalition Exploration Service. Then we go to Marc Miller's Traveler, which was, as far as I can tell, a licensed product that came out in 95, I want to say. 95 or 96. My apologies for not having that date right, but I found some conflicting info. And I genuinely don't remember which year I bought it. But I did buy all the Marc Miller's Traveler stuff. Even then, in the pre-internet days, I was aware of it, and I was excited about it. This campaign keeps a lot of the same mechanics of Traveler, 2d6 for your character development, and most of your skills, or end your skills, stuff like that. Not a ton changes in that regard. Where we really have a change is we are now in a new era, oddly enough. Or should I say, an old era. We're in Milieu Zero. This is the beginning, the birth of the Third Imperium, which I was really excited about. I thought, well, okay, I'd have to move my campaign back, 1,100 years, 1,200 years, but I'm not going to do that. But I could certainly mine information from these books, and that is what they were useful for. You could absolutely mine information out of these books for historical things, for where there might be an old science base, where you might just have some historic significance in your campaign. There's a lot of things you could pull from this. So from that point of view, they were a success. Going to Milieu Zero, we get to find we've experienced the founding of the Third Imperium by Cleon Zunastu. Cleon was an industrialist, the head of the powerful Zunastu Industries, which is a family-held megacorp, and he was eventually became over the Silean Federation, and through political talent, guile, bullying, however you want to spin it, that's up to you as the DM, he was able to get enough coalitions together to form what became the First Imperium. He is known as Cleon the First, or Cleon the Great. Love him or hate him, he's the guy that created the Third Imperium. He went on to found his dynasty that ruled it off and on for a while. If you follow Traveler history at all, you'll see that it's not by any means a straight line. It's a lot like the Roman Empire history, which I'm okay with. So Milieu Zero takes us all the way back to the very beginning, to when the Imperium is this fledgling state that's struggling for alliances, struggling for identity, struggling for recognition. The big difference here in the Third Imperium is Cleon goes on to give all sophonts, that is, any type of alien sentient creature, humans, Kakri, anything, they are considered citizens if they live within the confines of the Imperium. And this, again, there's a parallel between this and ancient Rome. Ancient Rome used to do that. They would conquer an area, but then they would allow, in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, they would allow the native practices of religion to continue, and they would allow some of the native governors to stay in place to give a sense of continuity. But they would tell everybody, you are Roman citizens. And they would establish amphitheaters and gladiatorial games in a lot of the areas, not everywhere, but in a lot of them, to make everyone feel as if they were able to go to Rome at any time and be part of the true Roman Empire. It gave everybody a sense of identity. Well, Milieu Zero draws a lot from this, in my opinion, and it does it quite well. There are a lot of fun things in Milieu Zero. We get some excellent Chris Foss artwork throughout. He's a well-known science fiction artist. Where it falls down a little bit is they're very poorly edited. If you don't have a typo on a page, it's kind of a miracle. And that really bothered and disappointed me because these books were not cheap for their day. They were right around $20, $25, $30 each. And to pick up a book and get decent artwork but have all these typos was really kind of tough to swallow. So I like Milieu Zero for what it brought to the table, which was historic reference. So I like it a great deal for that. As a gaming environment, no, it's not for me. I'm going to stay in the golden age. That's what I like. I like having tech level, 13, 14 is your standard, 15 is cutting edge, 16 really is cutting edge. But I like the higher tech levels. Milieu Zero, you're dealing with more around 12. There's even a lot of 10 and 11 in daily life. So again, it loses some for me there. So this was an era, or this was a time in the 90s where we came from the new era where technology had backslid tremendously. When we go back in time to where technology hadn't developed yet. Double frustration for me because I never quite got back to the Traveler I wanted until the next run in line, which is going to be GURPS Traveler, and I'll cover that in a future video. So for this, I did go to Gen Con one year when these were brand new, and I signed up in advance for 2 Traveler events to be run by people that were actually working on the books. I'm not going to say the name of anybody who ran it because they probably are still active in something in gaming, and I don't want to slander anybody. I will say, though, that the one I ran was a spaceship combat system. It was pretty good. It even had shields in more or less the standard Star Trek feel. And we ran a demo game of it. I realized they were playtesting it. Never really saw print in the form that I played, but it wasn't bad. And the guy running it really knew his stuff, and it was very good. Later that day, I went to my Traveler RPG session in Milieu Zero. We drew characters randomly from a pile on the table. There were about 7 of us playing. And I drew a female lounge singer. Now, a female lounge singer does not scream Traveler Adventurer to me. I don't know about you. Also, I'm not female. So I didn't really get with the immersion in this one. So I asked the GM, hey, is it okay if I make it a male lounge singer? No, you have to play it as written. Okay. We then went on to stumble through a campaign, or a game rather, not a campaign, a game that if the GM prepared this game himself, he didn't read his own notes. If this was prepared for him, he didn't read the notes. Constantly tripping over where we were, what we were doing, what ship we were in, why a lounge singer was traveling around with all these other adventurers. It didn't fit. It didn't work. The DM was woefully unprepared. It felt very poorly done. It went about 3 to 4 hours. There was a game afterward by the same GM. I declined to participate, and unfortunately, to this day, that remains the worst Traveler game I've ever been in, and that was at Gen Con, so I was pretty disappointed. So don't bother asking me. I will not reveal the name of the game master. I remember who it was, but I will not reveal it. So you can ask all you want. It's not going to be answered. So that's it for Traveler, or sorry, Marc Miller's Traveler, the Milieu Zero campaign. I'll go back to the Marc Miller book. There we have the Marc Miller Traveler rulebook. And it was, the 90s were kind of a tough time to be a Traveler fan. That I stuck with it. I still find it a little surprising. We suffer and stumble through a lot of stuff that wasn't quite on point until GURPS Traveler lands. I believe they landed in 98. So I'm going to go into GURPS Traveler in one of my future videos, and I'll lavish all kinds of praise on that because I genuinely enjoy GURPS Traveler. So that's it for today for page 121. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below, except, of course, who ran that game, because I won't say. And if you have any... if you like the page, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. Also, I've done the format in this one where I did a live intro and then I went to the bookshot. Let me know which way you want to do it. I've done some where it's me entirely live holding the product, and now I'm doing the bookshot. Let me know which way is preferred. I'm really trying to find an identity for the channel. So that's it for today from page 121. Thanks for watching.
Well, that closes the book on another episode of page 121. Please leave your comments below, and if you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.